So welcome everybody. I'm going to be doing our keynote presentation tonight. We're going to talk about real estate in today's market. We're going to go through what's working now, what's not working, how to get started, and how to take things to the next level. We're going to do a market update. We even have a commercial presentation, so we got a very packed set of presentations to go through with you guys here today. This meeting is sponsored by the Texas REIAs, like I said, the largest network of real estate investor associations in the great state of Texas. Over 150,000 members, participants, and attendees going back to 2003. Why do you care, and why does that matter? Well, the reason you might want to care is because real estate is local. Laws are local, contracts are local, contractors are local, houses are local, buyers and sellers are all local. There's 30,000 YouTube videos that talk about how to invest in real estate, and they all talk about how to do it anywhere. Well, how to do it anywhere is how to do it at 30,000 feet. Real estate is not bought and sold at 30,000 feet. Real estate is bought and sold at 0 feet. So if you want to know what laws apply here and which contracts to use here and which neighborhoods to invest in here, where do you get all that? You get that at your local real estate investor association. And they say if you have the slightest interest in real estate, the very number one first thing to do is to go join your local real estate investor association. This is the largest network of REIAs in Texas. So we are live in person, obviously, and we're also broadcasting online. If you're watching on GoToWebinar, you are live. If on the other hand, you're on social media, you may or may not be live. But if you'd like to come to any of our training events, we have a massive assortment of training events every single week. Just go to flipping.com/events. Okay, so where to get started? I'm going to start this presentation by answering a very common question that people ask when they come to the REIA, and that is where to get started. And there's a lot of options. For example, you can do residential real estate, you can do commercial real estate. You can be an active investor, or you can be a passive investor. So the question is, okay, which one of these is the right place to get started? And I would say the answer is yes. But the unique answer to you depends on you and essentially the problem that you're trying to solve. What do I mean by that? If you're here primarily because you want to generate income, maybe you want to quit your job or supplement your income, maybe you want a side hustle, maybe your goal is to make an extra $100,000 in the next 12 months. If that's your primary goal for being here right now, I'm going to tell you, great, you should be flipping houses. There are many ways to do it. In fact, we're going to talk about 11 different strategies to do it. Many of them take no money or other people's money, no credit, because whether you have money or not, you don't have enough anyway, so you have to learn how to do it with other people's money. So it's very scalable. And it's the number one place that people get started, okay, when they want to just replace their job, quit their job, replace their income, supplement their income, make an extra 6 figures in the next 12 months. So if that's why you're here, that's where we would recommend you get started. Now, you may say, but that's not really why I'm here. What I'm really looking to do is to build wealth. I like my job. I'm not looking to quit my job, but I want to build my wealth. I want to be wealthier in my future. If that's your primary goal, I'm going to say you should be buying rental properties. Okay, I've been buying rental properties for 21 years. I now own $30 million worth of houses here in Texas, most of them free and clear because the tenants paid off the mortgage. Thank you very much, tenants. And a lot of them have doubled and doubled and doubled, right, over the years. So they become very, very, very valuable. And a lot of my net worth, most of my net worth, came from decisions I made years ago in buying rental properties. So if your goal is to be wealthy in your future, I'm going to recommend you should be buying rental properties. But then if you said, no, but that's still not why I'm here. I have money and I want to make money with the money I already have. That's what I'm really looking to do. I want to find something that is safer and higher return than the stock market. That's really what I'm looking for. Well, if that's what you're looking for, I would advise that you invest in syndications. Wealthy people, honestly, don't invest in the stock market. The masses invest in the stock market. That's called public equity. Okay, wealthy people invest in private equity, right? These are privately placed syndications, not publicly placed syndications. And the most popular of these are commercial real estate, right? And commercial real estate investments or syndications typically, on average twice the return of the stock market with half the risk. So once you learn about this, right, there's something that you can do with your money, like your 401k that has twice the return and half the risk. You never go back to the stock market. In fact, financial planners hate private equity. They hate commercial real estate because as soon as their clients find out about private equity, commercial real estate, they lose all their clients. So it's like, oh, you don't want to do that because they don't get a commission and they lose their clients. So I would say if that's your goal, if you're just looking to make money with your money, you should be investing in commercial syndications. Now, if you still say, but that's still not it, that's not why I'm here to make the big money. I don't want to make $100,000 a year. I want to make $1 million or $2 million or $5 million a year. Well, if that's your primary goal, then you should be doing commercial syndications. Typically, if you sponsor a commercial syndication, you will make $1 million or more per deal. Now, so that's the big money. Now, that is the big money. What's the catch? A typical commercial syndication is a 5-year deal, right? So it's going to take 5 years. So it is big money, but it's not fast money. Now, that being said, if every year you're getting a couple of these deals started, right, over a period of 5 years, you got a whole pipeline of these deals, and now you're making $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $5 million a year through creating a pipeline of commercial syndications. So these are all the right things to do. And, you know, we love them all. There's no right or wrong. It's just which one is right for you really depends on what your plan is, right? What are you here, what problem are you here to solve? Now, most people get started by flipping houses. That's the most common place that people get started. And I would say that's great. You know, you make yourself 6 figures in the next 12 months. That's awesome. And then I would always say, though, I would always recommend, you know, keep some of them. Keep the best ones. Because, you know, most of my wealth came from just keeping properties and not selling them all. I have kind of the Bluebell ice cream philosophy with real estate. Their slogan is, we eat all we can and we sell the rest. You know, my philosophy with houses is, you know, I keep all I can and I flip the rest, right? I can't keep them all. I got to make some money too, right? But I love keeping them. So yeah, buy rental properties. I recommend everybody do that on their way. Now, once you make more money than you need to pay all your bills, pay for your life, your lifestyle, you're going to want to make money with your extra money. And I'm going to tell you, once you understand about commercial syndications, you're not going to do that with the stock market. You're going to put it into commercial syndications. And then finally, when you actually invest in commercial syndications, typically if you put $50,000 into a deal, you get 100 back. You put 100 in, you get 200 back. Most of these deals are structured to double your money, right? So you put 50 in, you get 100 back. Well, you just got paid $50,000, and while you're making that money, you're really learning how it works. Because you're meeting the sponsor, you're seeing the property, you're getting a copy of the business plan, and then you're even following along with the progress, right? So you're like, well, that's pretty awesome. I just made $50,000, but the guy I invested my $50,000 with, he just made $1 million, and now I understand exactly how he did that. Maybe I want to be that guy. So eventually, you're going to want to be that guy. So these are all great things to do. We do them all. I do them all, and this network does them all. So we're not here to try to persuade you about any one plan. One of the beautiful things about the REIA, we're not here to sell you something or persuade you of something. We love them all. You want to be active? Great. We got stuff you can be active with. You want to be passive? Great. We got great passive opportunities. You want to do residential? Oh, fantastic. There's lots of people who do residential. We want to do commercial? Great. We love and do that too. So we love them all. And we have a huge network of people, and you can get plugged into the people and resources and activities that are the most interesting to you. So flipping.com and Texas REIAs offers training, money, power teams, resources, vendors, supporting all of these different things. So let's do a quick poll of the audience, just see kind of where we are here. Looking at these 4 quadrants, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see, let's do a vote. Where do you see yourself fitting in to get started? And there's no right or wrong answer. I'm just going to do like a poll of the audience. Who's here primarily because you'd like to make yourself an extra 6 figures in the next 12 months? Who wants to make 6 figures in the next 12 months? Okay. Who's here primarily because you're looking to build wealth? You're looking to build longer term wealth. Okay, pretty good split there. Who's here primarily because you want to make more money with your IRA 401k? You want to make money with your money. Who wants to make money with your money? Okay, and who's here ready to do the big deals, the commercial deals? Who's ready to do the big commercial deals? Okay, well, got a mix. Okay, They're all good. They're all good. Now, we're going to start in quadrant 1 or 2, and then later we'll go into quadrant 3 or 4. I will say that if you are specifically interested in commercial, right, passive or active, you might want to take a little snapshot of this QR code. When you take a snapshot of the QR codes, it does not ask for your name or email or anything. All it does is it literally sends a text message from your phone, then you get text back some link to some resources. So like, for example, the Texas REIA sponsors a free training seminar, a series of free classes on how to do commercial real estate. So if you're interested specifically in commercial, you might want to click on that and you'll get invited to that free training series. So, but going back to the 4 quadrants, quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, 4, most of you were kind of split between 1 and 2. So we're going to get started with 1 and 2. So if you want to flip houses, good news, there's a whole bunch of different ways to do that. In fact, we're going to go through about a dozen different strategies, and they're all awesome. And another thing that the network does, we use all the strategies, we invest in all the assets, we do active, we do passive. We are completely strategically agnostic. And almost any real estate guru you talk to, any real estate book you read, they are all going to say, this is the best way to do it. No, no, this is the best. No, no, this is the best, right? And at the REIA, we're going to tell you they're all the best. They're all great. I mean, some are better for certain people in certain situations than others. So learn how it all works, right? Keep your mind open, and then figure out kind of which would be the best thing for you to do. When it comes to flipping houses, we use about a dozen different strategies. 11 of them are generating income. 1 of them is about buying and holding. And I like to buy and hold the very best ones. And we have proprietary tools that don't exist anywhere else in the world. The Texas REIAs has pulled literally millions of pieces of data off of the internet, and we have these what are called heat maps of all the major metropolitan cities in Texas. You can zoom in all the way down to the street level, and we can report on a street-by-street basis exactly which streets you should buy and hold on and which streets you absolutely should not buy and hold on. And knowing that makes a world of difference over a period of 5, 10, 20 years, because you're going to own these properties for 5, 10, 20 years. And knowing which ones are going to do much better than others makes all the difference in the world. So let's get started by talking about these different strategies. And by the way, you saw my introduction earlier. I don't need to spend much time on this. My name is Phil Grove. I am one of the founders of Flipping.com and the Texas REIAs. I've been part of this organization since 2003. When I got started as a real estate investor, I didn't own or was not the owner of Texas REIAs, but I knew the owners, and eventually they transferred this organization to my wife, and I came along for the ride as well. I've done over 1,200 deals. I own about $30 million in rental properties here in Texas, and I made a lot of money along the way, and that's a nice byproduct. And I've also taught over 100,000 people how to invest in real estate. So I've been teaching. I enjoy teaching. Teaching is a great way to do networking. Networking is my primary marketing method, because if you position yourself, if you teach people, then you surround yourself with what? People, right? Buyers, sellers, has, wants, deals, leads, opportunities. And I figured out a long time ago as a real estate investor, you know, my original driver to become a real estate investor, I was an engineer, I got laid off in high tech, and I went into real estate, and I wanted to make money, I wanted to work for myself. And I wanted to make a lot of money. I didn't want to just replace my income. I wanted to be wealthy. And I realized pretty quickly to be wealthy, I need to make a lot of money, duh, right? And to make a lot of money, I need to do a lot of deals, duh. But then what's the tricky part? How do you do a lot of deals? And the answer is you have to do them in a scalable way, okay? So for example, I don't have enough money to finance 100 fix and flips. I can't be everywhere at once. I don't know everything. I don't have an infinite power team. But then I figured out, actually, none of that is true. None of that is actually true. Because what I figured out is that collectively, I actually have an infinite amount of money. Collectively, I actually can be everywhere at once. Collectively, I actually know everything. Collectively, I have an infinite power team. And what I realized, right, being part of a network, is that I could make a lot more money. I don't mean like a little more money. I mean like a lot more money, getting 50% of 1,000 deals at 100% of 5 deals. So there's power to a network. If you want to do a lot of deals, you're going to have to do them in a scalable way, which means you're going to have to work with other people. Nobody has enough money. Elon Musk does not have enough money to be a real estate investor. I don't care what you got, not enough. You got $500,000 in your checking account, great, good for you. Go buy a house. Okay, now you're done. Yeah, that was it. All the money's in that house. Can't buy another house, right, until you sell that house. That doesn't scale. You have to be prepared to buy any house at any price at any time. The life-changing deal of a lifetime could land on your plate tomorrow. Are you ready? You got to be ready. You never know when it's going to happen. So you got to get comfortable using other people's money. Now, you're going to have to pay for other people's money. You're going to have to partner, share profits, or pay interest or whatever, but the deal is really paying for the money. Right? The deal can't afford to pay for the money. What would I say about the deal? I'd say the deal sucks. Go get a better deal, right? But if you're spending all your time finding good deals, right, then the deal can always pay for the money, and you have infinite deals financed with infinite money. So these are some of the deals that made me money. I don't have time to go through them all. I've done a lot of deals. In fact, I do up to a real estate transaction a week in some shape, form, variety, or another. And what that does is it creates money in big chunks. Now, that sounds cool, money in big chunks. But I'm not here to sound cool. What does that mean? The way this business works fundamentally is as follows. We do things to get people with problems to call us. Problems are opportunities. Big problems are what? Big opportunities. So we're looking for problems. We're entrepreneurs. All entrepreneurs make money by solving the world's problems. If you want to make a lot of money, solve a lot of problems. So we're real estate entrepreneurs, and we solve real estate problems. So I'll give you some examples. I found somebody facing foreclosure. Big problem. I gave them an out, an alternative, something called a short sale, allowed them to sell their house without having to bring money to the table, without completely destroying their life and their credit, and I made $16,000 helping somebody solve a problem. REO stands for real estate owned, bank-owned properties. Banks do not want to own real estate. They're not in that business. So I took it off the bank's hands, flipped it. I made $36,000 solving the bank's problem. I had a legal problem, had to sell a house by Friday. A realtor cannot sell your house by Friday. I can, wholesaled it, made $5,000. Got a property subject to, one of my specialties, no money, no credit, flipped it, made $68,000, $5,600 on an assignment, $6,000 on a mortgage assignment, $10,000 on a wholesale, $2,800 on a small little referral, $12,400 for a larger referral. The way this business works is as follows. We do things to get people with problems to call us, and here's the really beautiful part. For every problem that exists, there is no exception, we have a solution, a strategy that helps them, is about helping people, solves their problem, solves their need, and gets us paid. We can help motivated sellers, we can help non-motivated sellers, we can help people that own their houses free and clear, we can help people that are hopelessly underwater, where they owe more money than the house is worth. We can help them, we can solve the problem and get paid. Sometimes we get singles, sometimes we get doubles, sometimes we get home runs. Sometimes I work on a lead, a deal, an opportunity, a problem for 6 months, and after 6 months I make $5,000. And I'm like, oh man, 6 months for $5,000. I could have made more money working at Walmart. Thank goodness I'm not working on just one lead at a time. Sometimes my phone rings, and that phone call makes me $55,000 in 48 hours. And I'm like, oh man, I wish every time my phone rang I made $55,000 in 48 hours. But that's not how it works either. That's maybe 1 in 100 phone calls. So the question you have to ask yourself is simple. How often do you get 100 phone calls? You can control that. It depends on how much marketing that you do, how many deals you look at. Do you look at 100 deals a week? Do you look at 100 deals a month? Do you look at 100 deals a year? That's up to you and how much marketing that you do. So there's 2 essential skills that I need to teach you today. And the first of these is marketing. Marketing is finding the deal, generating the lead. You need to spend 85% of your time and effort generating the lead, finding the deal. What is a lead? It's just a name and number of somebody that might want to sell real estate. You know, 100% of the shots you don't take don't go in. So you need to just look at a lot of deals, okay? And then the next skill we have to learn is what? Strategy. Strategy is doing the deal, which means solving the problem. We buy houses. We help people sell houses, get rid of houses and mortgages they don't want, can't afford. We do that in a variety of different ways. It solves a variety of different problems. So marketing and strategy, finding deals, doing deals, finding problems, and solving problems. These are the two primary skills we have to learn. We use 65 methods. I'm going to teach you 65 different ways to find off-market, because that's what we buy, off-market, wholesale real estate. We use a dozen different strategies to help people. This is about helping people solve their need, problem, and get ourselves paid. Over half of the marketing methods, by the way, are completely free. And 9 of the 12 investing strategies are actually no money and no credit strategies. And when you learn how to buy real estate with no money and with no credit, then how many properties can you buy? All of them. How many do you want to buy? All of them. Okay, when I throw out a question, if you just say all of them, you're probably going to get it right. So just, give you a little tip. All right, so marketing strategy, finding deals, doing deals, finding problems, solving problems. Let's get started with the marketing. Oh, actually, first I'm going to tell you a story. This is the first deal. This is my very first house. Very first house I flipped on December 15, 2003. I flipped this house. Now, I'll tell you a little story. On December 14th, 2003, I was scared to death. I was actually being coached and mentored by the guys who ran the Real Estate Investor Association back then. I called both of them on the phone. I'm scared. Are you sure this is going to work? I don't want to lose any money. Yeah. It took 2 seasoned, experienced real estate investors pulling me, dragging me, kicking and screaming over the starting line to get me to do that very first deal. So if you're scared, I get it, I can relate, and I can help. But I had one other thing that was actually also motivating me to take action. I was in a job I no longer loved, and I was in a career I no longer loved. And I got to tell you, if you're spending your time doing something you don't love doing, you need to do something different with your life plan. And that's exactly where I was on December 15, 2003. I literally needed a different life. And I got to tell you, you get one life, just one. And it just races by. My wife and I, we recently had a baby boy. And this last weekend, I noticed there was a 15-year-old running around in my house. It's like, we're talking cars. He's taller than me. It's like I remember feeding him, but like what happened to the last 15 years? It's just a blur. It's just a blur. And I got to tell you, if you're not on a trajectory to reaching your God-given potential, to getting the life that you want, maybe it's time to change the trajectory. When's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the second best time to plant a tree? Yeah, that would be now. That would be now. We can't go back. We can't go back. But we can do whatever we want going forward. So let me tell you a little bit more about that deal. Because your first deal is actually your most important deal. Kind of like your first kiss, right? Everybody remembers their first kiss. Life-changing experience. Everybody remembers their first deal. Life-changing experience. Let me tell you about mine. It took me 6 months to find my first deal. I was actually an unusually slow starter. I got it under contract with a contract I got right here at the REIA. Bought it using OPM, other people's money, private loan from a member of the REIA. There's over 1,000 private money lenders here in the REIA. Private money is faster, cheaper, better than hard money or any other kind of money. I got a contractor here at the REIA to fix it up for me, one of the vendors. I got a realtor here at the REIA to sell it for me. Got an attorney and a title company here at the REIA to close it for me. And I went to that very first closing and I picked up that very first check for $15,384.26. And you know, when they handed me that check, it was like you unscrewed the cap, popped out the old brain, popped in the new brain. Because right up until the moment that they handed me that check, I was a real estate investor based on theory. I wasn't even sure I believed the theory. I don't know if this is going to work, not sure about that, don't know about this other thing. But the second they handed me that check, like a switch flipping, I became a real estate investor based on experience. I didn't know anything different, except I knew it actually worked. And what I realized when they handed me that check is if I did this and this and this again, I get another check. Worked the first time. If I did this, this, and this, I get another check. If this, and this, I get another check. But the really big deal that I realized when they handed me that check, right at that moment, I realized that I would never, ever, 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 for the rest of my life, ever have to work for somebody else ever, 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 never, ever again. Yeah, my resume is in some form of DOS that even the highest tech of the IT people in the audience couldn't recreate if you wanted to. And if you don't know what DOS is, find somebody with gray hair and ask them, right? They'll tell you, right? It doesn't exist anymore, but whatever. Yeah, I haven't worked for somebody else for 21 years, and it's because of that check. So if you're new and you're just getting started, here's my first piece of advice. You need to focus yourself like a laser beam on your very first deal, because your very first deal will change your life, mostly by changing your mindset. Deals 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 combined, not as hard as deal number 1. So I told you I was going to tell you what I did right. I'm also going to tell you what I did wrong, because I made one big mistake right out of the chute that every rookie makes. I spent all that time finding the deal. I found the deal. As soon as I found the deal, I kind of put my marketing on hold. I picked up a hammer, started working on that deal, managing those contractors. I finished the deal. I got the check, only to wake up the next day and to realize I had absolutely nothing to do. Well, except start the whole business all over again. And that gets me to my very first takeaway. And here it is, and here's the big one. The business of being a real estate investor is the business of finding deals. It's all about finding deals. Why? Because you make your money on the buy. What does that mean? As soon as you find a property and get it under contract, at that second, it's over. It's done. Anything you were going to make or not make, it's done. Yeah, you get the money at the end on the sell, but you make the money on the buy, right? You make it all on the buy. In the stock market, you make it on the sell, right? You buy it hoping it'll go up. In the real estate, no. Real estate, you buy it at a discount. You just hope it doesn't go down, or just hope it stays the same. That's all you have to do, right? All the money is made on the buy. And once you understand that, you always have to spend 85% of your time and money looking for the next deal, because the next deal is always more important than the deal you have now. The rookies all screw this up. The rookies, they finally get enough momentum, they find a deal, they do a deal, they make some money, great! But while they're working on the deal, they're now looking for the next deal. So they get the check, and then they don't have another deal, so they restart the marketing. Eventually they get it going. Eventually they find a deal. Eventually they do a deal, and they make some money, great! But while they're working on that deal, they're now looking for the next deal. So they reset the marketing. Eventually they get it going again. They find another deal, great! And their income goes up and down with big gaps in between. You need your income to go up, 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 up. And the only way to do that is to always spend 85% of your time and money on marketing, looking for the next deal and keeping that pipeline full of deals. And hint, by the way, the deals you're looking for are not in the MLS. The MLS is the multiple listing service. It is the retail market for real estate. It is where realtors sell real estate. It's where all the people in the world compete with each other to see who will pay the most. And I hate to say it, but when you're competing against all the people in the world, some of those people are stupid. And you don't want to compete against stupid. Well, you don't want to win competing against stupid. Now, don't get me wrong, folks. I love the MLS. I adore the MLS. Why do I love and adore the MLS? Because after I buy off-market wholesale real estate, where do I want to go to resell it? Yeah, on the MLS. It has been proven that any property posted in the MLS will sell for the most it could possibly be sold for, because the whole world's competing for it. But that's just never where you're going to find heavily discounted wholesale real estate. Wouldn't even make sense. The very best deal in the entire MLS would rarely be a deal that a real estate investor would even take a second look at. So, finding deals. Oh, here's this rookie mistake. Deal, reset marketing, deal, reset marketing, deal, reset marketing. No, no, no. You never stop marketing. You always spend 85% of your time and money looking for the next deal, because the next deal is always more important than the deal you have now. You never stop marketing. Okay, so finding deals. Once I realized this whole shooting match is really about finding deals, then I started to systematize the process of finding deals. And over time, I developed 65 different methods for finding deals. Actually, that's not completely accurate to say I developed 65 ways. What would probably be more accurate is to say I found 65 things that work, and I started to do those things. In fact, I need to teach you all a really important lesson. Maybe the most important lesson that I'm going to teach you today. But for me to teach you this next lesson, first, I need to unteach you all something. Okay, so I'm going to unteach you all something. When you guys were in elementary school, if you looked over the paper next to you and you copied down the answers, that was called what? Cheating. And you were all taught that cheating is what? Bad, wrong. Okay, we're not a bunch of little kids. We're not in elementary school anymore. Going forward, I need you all to unlearn that. Because going forward, guess what? Cheating is actually the shortcut. What am I saying up here? What I'm trying to say is this. There is nothing that you are trying to do. There is absolutely nothing that you are trying to figure out that I and other people haven't already done and figured out. Everything, and I mean everything, and I mean every minute little detail of everything about this business is completely understood. We know what's in the soil. We know the zoning. We know the guys who write the zoning. We know the appreciation rate. We know exactly which neighborhoods, which streets to buy and hold on, which streets to fix and flip on. We know exactly what letters to send, exactly what marketing lists. We know exactly what offers to make, exactly what words to say. We know exactly how many responses we get. We know exactly what the objections will be. We know exactly how to overcome the objections. We even know on average how many contracts that we're going to get signed for every 20,000 letters we send out. Everything, and I mean everything, and I mean absolutely everything about this business is completely understood. And once I realized that everything I was trying to do and everything I was trying to figure out, other people had actually done and figured out, I stopped trying to figure everything out, and I just started to, here's this word, copy, right? Copy the top 65 methods of actually finding off-market wholesale property. Now, some of these methods, called campaigns, take time. Some of these methods take money. When you get started, you're probably going to have more time and less money. Once you get going, you're going to have more money and less time. I will be honest with you, I don't spend any time anymore on marketing. I outsource 100%. But when you're getting started, you're probably going to insource more. So then what are all these different marketing methods? Well, let me teach you a whole bunch. Now, you can't do all of these things. You need to do 3 of these things, maybe 4, maximum of 5. So I'm going to teach you a bunch, and you're going to find the ones that best fit you. So let me teach you some marketing. You can buy marketing lists, okay? What do you do with a marketing list? You do marketing to it. Like what? You can send them letters. You can send them postcards. You can call them. You can text them. You can have a CRM system, put a voicemail in their voicemail box even without calling them. You can knock on their door. Or you can do what I do, and you can have an AI-powered chat bot chat with them and converse with them while you're sleeping. So it can call 10,000 people and then just schedule appointments with the ones that actually want to talk to you and have a conversation where you can make them an offer. Or you can do a combination of those things, which would be called a multi-touch campaign. So then what are some of the popular marketing lists? Well, you can get a list of people that did not pay their property taxes, people that are 30, 60, 90, or 120 days late paying their mortgage, people that have filed for divorce. 2 people were combining their income to pay a mortgage. Now, one of them's gone. Well, the one that's left is probably having trouble paying the mortgage by themselves. You can get a list of people who've inherited a house from somebody that passed away, people whose credit scores are starting to fall, people that just got dismissed from bankruptcy, certainly a lot of financial distress there. You can get a non-owner occupied list. This is a list of people that own a house where they don't live in the house they own. Well, technically, those are landlords, and a lot of them are what we call accidental landlords. They couldn't sell the house, so they rented it out. Or they let an ex-spouse or friend or business or associate or neighbor stay in a house, or they inherited a house that had a tenant in it. They didn't really plan on being a landlord. They don't really know how to be a landlord, and very often they eventually become motivated sellers. You can get a list of people who rent to people on public assistance. You can get a code enforcement list. You know, the city is already driving around, issuing citations for abandoned houses, hoarder houses, deferred maintenance houses. Do you know you can get the city to give you a list of every problem property in the city? You can even get an expired listing list. This is a list of people that hired a realtor, tried for a long time to sell it, and it didn't sell. What do we know about these people? We know 100% of these people would like to sell their house, probably now more than ever. But they probably need solutions that realtors don't offer. Well, hello, that's exactly what investors do offer. If you send letters, postcards, text messages, chat bots, or whatever to these lists of people, some of them will call you back. Those are called leads. If you make them an offer that solves their problems, some of them will say yes, right? And those are called deals, right? And it's a numbers game. We're going to talk about the numbers. With a website, you get leads on the internet, banner signs, little plastic signs, say we buy houses. Why do you see those signs? Because they actually work. Online ads work, email, autoresponders, magnetic signs, a little sign on the side of your car. You stick the sign on there, you get leads for the rest of your life while you're just driving around. Door hangers, you want to pay postage for 10 cents a door, you can have somebody put your flyer or door hanger on every door. Here's one that's pretty much free, driving for dollars. Sometimes I'm just driving around and I see a tarp on a roof. They might as well be waving a big red flag, desperate motivated seller, please buy my house. I mean, think about this. Somebody's most valuable asset, a house, has a serious problem, okay, a leak, and their solution was to do what? Go buy a $5 tarp at Home Depot. How come they didn't fix the roof? What do you think? Exactly, no money. Same guy's not fixing the roof, not paying his insurance, not paying his taxes, probably not paying his mortgage. Sooner or later, an investor is going to buy that deal. What are the other marketing strategies? And what are the other methods to find off-market wholesale deals? Well, how about a letter of intent? What is a letter of intent? A letter of intent is an offer. So the question is, who should you send an offer to? And the answer is everybody. So I'm going to give you all your first homework assignment. Tomorrow, I want each of you to send 300 different people an offer on their house. I'm not kidding. You see, here's how investors think. Ready, fire, aim. You make the offer, and then you negotiate. You make the offer, and then you look for the money. You make the offer, and then you do your due diligence. You make the offer, and then you think about it. You should make everybody an offer. Why not? Do you know that here in Texas, every time you simply make somebody an offer, you get 4 different options. You might want to write them down. Option number 1, you can buy a house. Why? Because they might say yes. If you take 300 shots on goal, what do you think is going to happen? Something's going in, even if you suck. And with practice, what do you think is going to happen? More of them go in. Because with practice, you don't suck anymore. Yeah, just get one of those lists, send 300 people. I guarantee every one of those people needs and wants to sell a house, send 300 of them on offer, something's going in. So option number 1, you can buy a house. Option number 2, you can terminate the offer after you make it. Do you know that the Texas state promulgated contract gives the buyer the unilateral right to just rip it up, walk away, no harm, no foul, no risk, no penalty, no cost? Option number 3, you can renegotiate the offer after you make it. Do you know that it's much, much, much easier to renegotiate than it is to negotiate? Especially when everybody calls you back, might want to sell the house, i.e. wants to negotiate. Option number 4, you can actually sell that contract itself to somebody else that has money. Notice only one of those 4 options even required you to come up with any money to buy a house. My point is just make offers and give yourself options. The new investors that figure this out sooner rather than later get there sooner rather than later. There is 0 risk in making an offer. There is huge potential reward in making an offer. When you're making an offer, it's like buying a lottery ticket that costs nothing, that has maybe a 1 in 20 chance of making you $50,000. How many of those lottery tickets should you buy? All of them, right? Buy them all. So why so many different marketing methods? FSBO, for sale by owner, cold calling. Why would somebody try to sell their own house? Maybe they're lazy, maybe they're crazy, maybe they need solutions that realtors don't offer. Why so many different marketing methods? Well, let me ask you a question. Would you rather fish with a hook, or would you rather fish with a net? And the answer is you need to learn to fish with a net. And the reason is because this business is a numbers game, and now I'm going to teach you the numbers. I'm going to teach you something right now that it took me 2 years of hard work in the trenches to figure out. By 2005, I had been a real estate investor for 2 years. And I calculated at that time that I had looked at about 400 properties. So after 2 years, I'd been looking at a property every couple of days. I looked at 400 properties, and then I did the math. And here's what I figured out 20 years ago. For every $100 I spent on paid marketing, things like direct mail, I got one qualified, motivated seller lead. For every 3 hours I spent on personal marketing, that's free marketing, things like driving around for dollars, I got one qualified, motivated seller lead. Then I discovered that as a rookie, on average for every 20 leads I got, I made at least minimum $20,000 net profit on a deal. So let me do the math for you. It means every time I drove around for 60 hours, I made at least $20,000 profit on a deal. That means every time I sent out $2,000 in direct mail, I made $20,000 profit on a deal. Okay, so let me do the math for you. Okay, spend $2,000, right, make 20. Spend $2,000, make 20. Spend $4,000, make 40. Spend $8,000, make 80. Spend $16,000, make 160. Spend $32,000, you don't have to spend it all at once, by the way, make $320,000 net profit. Are you starting to like the numbers? It took me 2 years to figure that out, right? 2 years. But after 2 years in the trenches, what I realized was, holy cow, this is just a numbers game. And now I know the numbers. And I started to think about my business in a completely different way after I figured this out. I now see my business like the whole business is just a little black box. And I call that little black box a marketing machine. And the way that little black box works is every time I stick $100 worth of marketing in one end, eventually $1,000 worth of net profit pops out the other end. Now, if you had a little black box where every time you shoved a $100 bill in one end, a $1,000 bill popped out the other end, how many bills would you stick in the box? All of them. And I started spending money on marketing like a drunken sailor. I started to spend that, gave me the confidence, started spending thousands of dollars a month on marketing. And then I started spending tens of thousands of dollars a month on marketing. And then I hired 2 full-time that work for me this day, six-figure guys, full-time six-figure guys that spend 100% of their time spending my money on marketing. One guy just spends all day running the ads, the other guy just spends all day running the analytics, sees what works and what doesn't, double down what works. And today I spend in a typical month as much as $100,000 a month on marketing. Because once you know it's a numbers game, once you know the numbers, you dial it in and then you dial it up, right? That is how this business works. The numbers I'm showing you here are 20 years ago. The numbers are much better today. Why are the numbers much better today? Because the deals are bigger. You know, let me ask you guys a question. How many of you feel like houses are kind of expensive right now? Raise your hand if you think houses are kind of expensive right now. Okay, how many people think houses are cheap right now? Who thinks houses are cheap right now? Okay, we've got a lot of expensives, not a lot of cheaps. I think houses are dirt freaking cheap right now. I'm astounded. I look at the prices of these houses and I'm like, oh my God, they're practically giving them away. They're so cheap. It's ridiculously cheap. But you know what? If you don't believe me, don't listen to me. I want you to ask somebody that I know you believe. I want you to ask somebody I know you trust. I'm going to have you ask somebody that you trust. I'm sure you trust this person more than anybody, right? I want you to ask them, this person you trust more than anybody in the world, what do you think of house prices in 2024? So who should you ask? I want you to ask future you. I want you to ask yourself 20 years in the future, what do you think of house prices in 2024? And I'm going to tell you what future you is going to tell you. Oh my God, do you realize you could have bought a house in Houston, Texas for less than $3 million? You should have bought them all. When I started buying properties, rental properties in Texas 21 years ago, I paid ridiculous prices. Everybody knew the houses were just ridiculous. The market was high, it was ridiculous, everything was overpriced. And I bought a whole bunch of houses at ridiculous prices. I paid $120 for some of these houses, $140, $150. I think I spent up to $175,000 to buy these central Austin properties. I mean, I know, 20 years, ridiculous prices. Today, those houses are worth $800,000, $750,000. I'm about to sell one for $1.2 million, right? And today, everybody's saying the same thing they said 21 years ago. Houses are so expensive. When's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. Yeah, start buying rental properties. The smartest thing that I did 21 years ago was to buy rental properties. Don't flip them all. Flip them makes income. We need income. Income's great. We all want income, so do income, right? But keep some. Because 20 years from now, your wealth is going to be determined not by the 50 grand you made on this deal, it's going to be how many you kept, right? If I could go back, I didn't make too many mistakes, but if I could have go back, I would have bought them all. I would have bet them all. It doesn't really matter, right? Price is a little high, price is a little low. It doesn't make it. 20 years, it doesn't make a difference. Whether you paid $10,000 more or less for any particular ad, makes no difference at all. Buy them all. But yeah, the numbers are much better today. Because today, an average flip is not 20K, it's like 50, 60K. For no other reason, the same amount of work, same amount of effort, same amount of everything, just because the houses cost 2 or 3 times as much as they did 20 years ago. So after that, sometime later, I actually wrote a book on real estate. I don't offer the book anymore. I don't find books very helpful for real estate. You know, they say if reading books turn people into millionaires, the library should be filled with millionaires, but for some reason they're not. And eventually I figured out why. Real estate is not helped with books. And the reason is because real estate's not that complicated. I went to engineering school. That was complicated. I did calculus, calculus 2, calculus 3. By the time I took calculus 3, I had to remember calculus 1 and 2. It was really complicated. And you know what? I've never had to solve a differential equation to flip a house. It's not that complicated. But unlike engineering and calculus, it's a mile deep. The thing about real estate, it's a mile wide. It's not that it's complicated, there's just a million details. That's real estate, it's a million details. And what you gotta learn about real estate's not a skill, it's a language. It's learning a language. You gotta memorize 20,000 little things, right? But you can't learn a language from reading a book. It's a waste of time. Go read 100 books on how to speak Spanish. You're gonna learn how to count to 10. There's only one way to learn how to speak Spanish. How do you speak Spanish? Go to Spain. You want to eat or go to the bathroom, you're going to learn some Spanish, right? And you have to hear things 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 times, right? You have to immerse yourself. So it's not until my wife and I started to spend time immersing ourselves in the local Real Estate Investors Association, spending time with local real estate investors, hearing things 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 times that we picked up enough of the details. So that's why I don't offer a book anymore. Okay, so we are coming into the home stretch of this presentation. You know, we talked about marketing. Now I'm going to go through the strategies. Obviously, they're possibly the most interesting part of the presentation. But if you remember at the very beginning of this, I said, my job is to make you educated, contributing members of this community. We really want you to be educated and participatory and contributing. You know, we do these meetings all over Texas, and we always have a lot of new people that come to the meetings. And we call the new people tourists, right? Hey, honey, let's go check out the REIA. Nothing wrong with that, right? But we figured out a long time ago that nobody actually makes any money being a tourist. We need people to be active, buying, selling, partnering, lending, borrowing. That's where we all make money. But I also figured out a long time ago that unfortunately, I can't turn somebody into a real estate investor in 45 minutes. If I could figure out how to sprinkle pixie dust on everybody's head and turn them all into real estate investors in 45 minutes, yeah, that would be awesome. I don't know how to do that. But I can, and I have, on numerous occasions, turn people into real estate investors over a period of 24 hours. Or maybe it would be more accurate to say 24 hours spread out over 3 days, giving us the time to get through all the nitty-gritty details of how we actually do this. And this is why I teach, and the Texas REIAs sponsors the Flipping Texas REIAs Real Estate Investing Workshop. This is Texans teaching Texans how to invest in Texas using the strategies that work here. We go through practical, actionable, detailed, step-by-step training on all 12 strategies, all 65 marketing methods, the closing scripts, how to partner, how to access funding, and how to actually do this here in Texas. Thousands, and I mean thousands, of the most successful investors in Texas, going back 20 years, can attribute their success to this workshop, The Real Deal, Texans Teaching Texans How to Invest in Texas. In fact, every single week we interview somebody in this network that's typically now a millionaire or multimillionaire. We have a YouTube channel. I don't know any other organization in the world that can point to a member on a weekly basis that's typically a millionaire or multimillionaire directly as a result of being part of a community. So that's what we're very proud of. So if you'd like to join us, we are live and in person, and we are also online. Some of the things we're going to be teaching, heat maps. We can drill down to the street level. A bunch of you said you wanted to build wealth. You got to know exactly where to buy and hold and exactly where to not buy and hold. That makes all the difference in which ones will make you the most money. We have proprietary heat maps that don't exist anywhere else. How to get off-market deals from outsourcing. We do a lot of outsourcing, and we don't buy anything except off-market, so we only buy off-market. How to get paid offering free house remodels. This is my favorite strategy. I offer to remodel people's houses for free. It's an absolutely, you can't say no to the offer, and I make a fortune actually doing that. So we're going to teach you how you can do that too. Who would like to get a 3% mortgage on a rental property with no money down, no credit check? Anybody want that loan? Sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? Okay, who's a little skeptical right now? Who doesn't believe you can get a 3% mortgage, no doc, no loan, no application, no money down? Who's a little skeptical right now? Okay, that's okay. You know what? I'll tell you what, I'm not going to make you wait till the workshop. I'm going to show you that one in just a couple minutes. So that's too cool to wait. But yeah, we're going to learn how to do exactly that. How about how to use artificial intelligence to talk to your sellers? This is what I like to do. I don't have time to call 10,000 people, but I have this guy that works for me. He's an artificial intelligent chatbot. He talks to people while I'm sleeping. And by the way, when you're talking to people, it may not be people anymore. You know that, right? So just so you know. But yeah, schedules appointments with ones you want to talk to. How about using VAs? I have 14 virtual assistants in the Philippines that do work for me. And I pay them a fortune by their standards and a tenth of what it would cost by American dollar standards to help do deals and stuff for me. So this is just a little bite of some of the stuff we're going to talk about at the workshop. So we're doing this live and in person, and we're simulcasting online. Pick the date that works best for you and come and join us. Now, if you have a conflict, if something's going on, like if your daughter's getting married, here's my suggestion. You need to cancel the wedding, okay? Because the most important thing that's going to change your life in a good way is coming to the workshop. And that'll actually change your trajectory in a good way. So decide which city you want to come to. I recommend you come live. Now, one other thing. Yeah, this is something different. We also would love to have you guys join the REIA. They say if you have the slightest interest in real estate, the very first thing to do is to go join your local real estate investor association. And the memberships have benefits. If you are a member of the REIA, then when you come to the workshop, guess what? You get preferred seating, VIP seating. You get VIP lunches and lunch sessions, so that's pretty awesome. And you get access to our online group. Who would like to have 20,000 buyers that you can market your property to? Anybody want 20,000 buyers? Okay, you should join the REIA. Who would like to have access to 1,000 private money lenders? Anybody want 1,000 private money lenders? Okay, you should join the REIA. Okay, who would like the ultimate power team, 19 players deep in every position across the board, across the state of Texas? Who's looking for the power team? Okay, you should join the REIA. So you get a Texas Money resource guide, you get a training program, special events. There's a whole bunch of perks to being part of the REIA. Now, to join the REIA, there is a cost. It costs $250 to join the REIA, but drum roll please. If you join tonight, we're going to give you a special deal of $100. So join. It is a one-year membership. You will not be automatically renewed after the year, so don't worry about that, but you can renew if you want to. So 1 year for $100 if you join today. And the Texas REIAs is the only organization in Texas, by the way, that actively lobbies on your behalf. Okay, we have legislative action on your behalf. Just a couple of years ago, we came this close, folks, this close to losing the wraparound mortgage in the state of Texas. Had it not been for this organization, you would not be allowed to use that strategy. The government is always looking for ways to make some of the things that we do and we help people with legal, illegal, or difficult. And if it was not for legislative action sponsored by this group, you would not have the rights you have today. So it's very important to support your local REIA. We'd love you to do that. You can join us for $100. You get all of these benefits, including access to all the resources that you need. And you even can come to the commercial workshop as well. So that's some huge benefits. We also have a really cool poster. I'll show you the poster a little later. This is what happens when engineers become real estate investors. They invent things. So these are the 273 things you need to know to be a real estate investor, all printed on a cool poster. And if you join the REIA, you get one of these posters as well. And then, of course, when you come to the workshop, I'm going to teach you how all this stuff works. For you guys online, if you sign up tonight, it is free, $100 to join the REIA. And then when you come to the workshop, you get a poster. So we'll give you your poster at the workshop. So for you guys here in the room, we're going to hand out a form here in the room. And Olivia, can you and Josh get some forms to hand out? And for you guys online, we're going to post a link online, and you guys can sign up online. If you sign up now, it is free to attend the workshop. If you wait, it is a cost to attend the workshop. So you might want to take advantage of free, which is better than cost. And the same thing for you guys live here in the room. Now, we're going to hand out a little form, and then we're going to get back to the training. The form is pretty clear. Fill it out. Please print legibly, because if we can't read your name and email address, somebody else is going to get your tickets. Pick the workshop. There's 3 choices: Austin, Dallas, Houston. Pick the one you want to attend by simply circling that one. It's the exact same workshop. They happen to be on different dates in different cities. The workshop itself is the same, okay? The workshop's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The date that is stamped on the form is Fridays, the day 1 of the 3-day workshop. Tell us if you want to come online or in person, okay? So if you want to come online or in person. If you come in person, which I recommend, you can also go back and forth online. Now, if you join the REIA, so tell us if you want to join the REIA, please do join the REIA. It is $100 if you do that tonight to join the REIA. You get access to all those resources, and you don't have to do this if you're a couple. So if you're doing it yourself, joining the REIA, you can bring your spouse, business partner, significant other with you as your guest as a VIP. So you don't have to join the REIA twice to get your spouse, business partner to the workshop. Give us a little more information about yourself so we can hook you up to some vendors and resources that can be helpful to you. We will collect the form back at the end of the meeting, so you don't have to fill it out immediately, but we're going to collect the form back at the end of the meeting. We're going to hand you a little packet with your tickets and all the information about the event. And then if you join the REIA, please join the REIA. It's $100. If you do it tonight, you get your cool poster and all of the benefits to being a member of the REIA. So pick the date and location that works best for you, and we will see you there live. And I will answer some questions about this at the end, but I do want to get into the final part of our presentation, which is strategies. And I want to talk about how to actually do the strategies. What are the mechanics? So people always ask me, what's the best strategy, right? Because there's so many different things you can do, right? As a real estate investor, you can do what? You can do short sales, buy and hold. You can do mortgage assignments, auction options. You can do referrals, wholesaling. You can do contracts for deeds, lease options, house swapping, wraparound mortgage, equity partnering. And of course, you can do fix and flip. And you can spend a lot of time and money on all that training and education. My wife and I have actually spent over $100,000 on training, coaching, seminars. Most of it was great. Some of it was not great. It all sounded great. But I don't feel bad about spending over $100,000 on our education, because we've made many millions of dollars from our education. But I do have a little pet peeve at how most people teach and how most people get taught. Because when you look at all of these different strategies, here's the good news. They all work. All of these things can make you money investing in real estate. That's the good news. The bad news is that they each only work in unique situations, because each of these strategies is actually the solution to a specific problem or situation. But remember what I said earlier, your job 1 is to find the deal. So here's a brand new investor hunting for a deal, and he gets a lead. What is a lead? A lead is the name and number of somebody that might want to sell real estate. Well, if this guy had gotten the right training, he would have learned how to help that particular seller solve their particular problem using a strategy called a wraparound mortgage, because that's the solution to their problem. But that's not the strategy he learned. He just went to one of those silly wholesale seminars. All he learned how to do was wholesaling. So he's looking for a wholesale deal, right? And that's all he knows how to do, but he didn't find one. He found a wrap. He doesn't know how to do that, so he can't make money on that lead. He can't help that seller. So that's not going to make him any money. So what does he do? He does some more marketing, generates another lead. Now, if he only knew how to do a mortgage assignment, he could solve a problem and get a check, but he doesn't know how to do that, does he? All he knows how to do is wholesaling. So he does some more marketing, generates another lead. Now, if he only knew how to do an auction option, he could solve a big problem and get himself a big check, but again, he doesn't know how to do that because all he knows how to do is wholesaling, and he's still looking for a wholesale deal. Are you starting to see a problem? This is a big problem, and I call this big rookie problem number 2. There's thousands of YouTube videos that teach people how to make money investing in real estate. What most of that training out there says is you need to get started by learning one strategy, and this is the best one. No, this is the best one. No, this is the best one. Well, whatever. You need to learn a strategy, focus on that strategy, do that strategy. After you make money on that strategy, later on you can learn some other strategy. It sounds pretty good, it feels pretty good, but forgive my language when I say this, that is a completely ass-backwards way to go about this. Saying that you need to get started by learning one strategy and make money on one strategy before you learn the other strategy, that's kind of like saying you need to go to Las Vegas and learn how to bet on one number on the roulette wheel. And after you make enough money betting over and over and over again on that one number of the roulette wheel, later on you can learn how all the other numbers work. Well, that's ridiculous. And yet that's how 95% of real estate investors get started investing in real estate, and probably 99% of wholesalers. So let's talk about wholesaling. There's nothing wrong with wholesaling. Wholesaling is one of the 12 strategies that I teach and that I do. In fact, it's the easiest one to teach. The problem, however, with wholesaling is that I would argue it's the hardest one to do that on average makes the least amount of money. So when somebody tells me, I want to get started by wholesaling, here's how my brain translates that plan. I want to do the hardest thing there is to do that makes the least amount of money. And I know from my experience that about 99 out of 100, maybe not 100 out of 100, but about 99 out of 100 people that try to execute that plan end up giving up before they ever get going. Because if you spend a lot of time and effort working on something that doesn't make you a lot of money, you're going to quit before you ever get going. For example, how many of you have read the book, The Millionaire Wholesaler? That's because it's never been written, nor will it ever be written. So what I'm going to teach you is what the top 5% of investors do. And my advice is to play to be in the top 5%, or don't bother. So how do you do that? Well, what I'm going to teach you is how to bet on all the numbers on the wheel and then spin the wheel a lot. And what do I mean by bet on all the numbers on the wheel? Use all 12 strategies. Why not learn all 12 ways to fill out a contract? You spend time and money finding somebody with a problem. If there's a way to help them to solve the problem and get paid, you need to help them and solve their problem and get paid. And once you know all 12 strategies, we have a solution for every problem there is. There is no exception. Motivated, non-motivated, free and clear, underwater. Right? We have a solution for every situation, every address, every homeowner. And then what do you do next? You spin the wheel a lot. You look at a lot of deals, you take a lot of shots on goal. This is what the top 5% of investors do. My advice, play to be the top 5% or don't bother. So let me teach you a couple strategies. I got time to teach you 2 strategies, so actually first I'm going to tell you a quick story. This was my first big deal. After I was a real estate investor, for just over 2 years, I flipped this house. I actually made $291,000 flipping this house, pretty good deal. But the more interesting part of the story is I was actually the 8th investor at bat. What does that mean? 7 other real estate investors looked at this deal before me and passed on the deal. How's that possible? How could 7 real estate investors pass on a deal, an opportunity to make almost $300,000 on a house? How's that even possible? I'm going to tell you it's not just possible, it's typical. Let me tell you the rest of the story. First investor walks into this house and says, I'd love to buy your house, but you're underwater. You owe more money than the house is worth. You can't even afford to sell me the house. Second investor walks into this house and said, I'd love to buy your house, but you're in bankruptcy. I can't buy a house from somebody in bankruptcy. Third investor walks into this house and says, well, I can help you avoid a foreclosure by doing something called a short sale, but I can't do that while you're in bankruptcy. Plus, you have a mid-construction project. I don't do mid-construction. I walked into this house and I said, my, oh my, you have a lot of big problems, don't you? Big problem means what? Big opportunity. It took 1, 2, 3 different strategies to do this deal. I did the deal. I made the money. My competition was a bunch of one-trick ponies. Most of my competitors are a bunch of one-trick ponies. 30,000 YouTube videos teach people how to be one-trick ponies. One-trick ponies are annoying, they get in the way at times, but they don't last long. Guys, if you think you're going to find pretty houses at big discounts just waiting for you hanging off of trees, yeah, you're smoking crack, okay? This is what opportunity looks like. A big bundle of problems with a nice pretty bow around it. I want a house where half the house burned down. I want a house that had a meth lab that exploded in a garage. I want a house that flooded. I want a house that has mold. I want a house where someone was murdered in the living room. Oh yeah, you could make a killing on a murder house. How do you make a killing on a murder house? Seriously, seriously. Right? Now murder's not common, but stigma is. It's a stigma house. How do you make a killing on a murder house? What do you think it costs to buy a murder house? Anybody want to guess? Yeah, 20 cents on the dollar. And do you know what everybody says when they walk by that house? They point at that house and they say, that's a murder house, right? That's what they do. And a year later, they're going by that house, they point at that house, and they're like, something bad happened in that house. A couple years later, they go by that house, and they kind of look around, they're like, something bad happened somewhere around here. About 5 years later, they go by that house, and what do they say? Nice house. How much? Stigmas go away. I bought a house for $180. It's now worth $580. What did I do with it? I didn't do anything. I just rented it out to a guy that didn't mind living in a murder house. I gave him a deal. Somebody gets shot in a bar, it's a crime scene. A few years later, it's a tourist attraction. The point is that problems are opportunities, and big problems are big opportunities. You're thinking like, I don't want any problem. You're thinking, I don't want to be an entrepreneur. So I'll tell you another story. One of my students recently bought one of those $150,000 Teslas. And he calls it his air car, H-E-I-R, air car. Somebody died without a will. But they did have 42 heirs. And everybody said, no way, man, there's no way you're going to get 42 people to agree on something, big problem. Well, he rolled up his sleeves, and it took a little effort, but eventually got 42 people to agree that a little bit of something is a whole lot better than a whole lot of nothing. Now he's driving around a $150,000 air car. Problems are opportunities. Big problems, big opportunities. So we use marketing to find the problems, and we use strategies to solve the problems. So I got time to teach you 2 strategies. Let me teach you your first strategy. I'm going to teach you is wholesaling. Easiest one to teach, I'll teach you right now. How does this work? You find a property and get it under contract. How much does it cost to get a property under contract? Nothing. Can we afford that? I think so. Now, after we get the property under contract, what are we going to do? Well, instead of buying the property, we're going to sell our equitable interest, the contract itself, to another investor for a fee. Okay, well, how much is the fee? Well, I don't know, $500 to $5,000 for a small deal, $10,000 to $25,000 for an average deal, $25,000 or more for a big deal. And this, my friends, is a no money and no risk strategy. Discover it's really hard to lose money when you're not spending or investing any money. Most of the strategies are like that. So let me tell you a story. When you come to the workshop, I teach theory. I just taught you the theory. But then I always teach the story. Because theories aren't as effective at learning something as actually application, right? The story that goes along with it, how it's actually done. So this is Kimberly. She was sitting in the same chairs you guys are sitting in. She came to the workshop, and she did her first deal. And she told me about it. This was her first deal. And the story goes like this. Her mom was visiting her from out of town. So she's in the car with her mom. And her mom's like, Kim, where are we going? Oh, well, Mom, we're going to get the house under contract. What? Kim, are you crazy? You just graduated from college. You don't have any money. You don't have any credit. You don't even have a job. What do you mean you're getting a house under contract? Don't worry, Mom. I know what I'm doing. So Kim's mom watched Kim walk into this house and offer the seller $265,000 cash for his house. And he signed a contract. Now, obviously, they talked on the phone ahead of time. Obviously, he was a motivated seller. Kim then took that contract and she posted it out to the network. Do you know that thousands and thousands and thousands of times over the last decade, the members of this community post their deals, offers, contracts, questions, resources back and forth across the network? You know, we meet every minute of every day online. That's why you want to be part of the network, right? Part of the REIA. So she posted this deal out to the REIA, right? And guess what? Several other members of the REIA wanted to buy that contract, that deal from Kim. And one of the other members of the REIA offered Kim $17,000 for her contract. So Kim just sold her contract to another member of the REIA for $17,000. So now Kim is a believer. Well, actually, Kim was a believer. Now Kim's mom is a believer. So what would Kim have done with the contract had nobody wanted to buy the contract? What would she done with it? Right? Terminate. Rip that. No harm, no foul, no cost, no penalty. But she didn't need to. So who bought the contract? Another member of the REIA by the name of Tatiana. Let me tell you about Tatiana. I know her very well. Tatiana paid Kim $17,000 for the contract. It then became Tatiana's contract. Crossed Kim's name out, wrote her name as the buyer in, or her company's name. Tatiana then went on to buy the property for $265,000 cash. She had the cash. She kept it for 6 months as a month-to-month rental. After the tenants moved out, she did a small renovation, a small addition, and then she sold it after owning it for 12 months. And when she sold it, she made almost $100,000 of net profit. That she only had to pay long-term capital gains taxes, no income taxes. Do you think Tatiana was pretty happy that Kim sold that contract to her? What do you think? Yeah, really happy. So let's do a little poll of the audience, get a little audience participation here. By a show of hands, how many of you here, by a show of hands, how many of you are cash buyers? Raise your hand if you're a cash buyer. Okay, let me ask you a different question. How much cash do you have to make a cash offer? 0. Well then, how much cash do you actually have to be a cash buyer? 0. Guys, you don't need any cash to make a cash offer. You don't have to have any cash to be a cash buyer. You just need to know people with cash. So let me ask you guys another question. Does anybody here know somebody you could call if you got a smoking hot deal to buy a property for a big discount for cash? Does anybody know such a person? For example, who? Yeah, what do you think I'm doing up here? Over here, guys, over here. You know, and in fairness, there's hundreds and hundreds of guys just like me out on that network that would be pleased as punch, right, if you guys got out there and got some properties under contract. You don't want it for yourself, pitch it back to the group. That's why we want you. That's why we need you. That's why we'll even train you on how to be educating, contributing members of this community. But I can see I have my work cut out for me. So let me try this again. By a show of hands, how many of you are cash buyers? Yeah, oh, awesome. Love talking to a room full of cash buyers. And the network instantly puts people with cash in connection with people with contracts and deals. Instantly puts people with deals in connection with people with cash. Welcome to the wholesale marketplace. All right, yeah, you're not going to find your deal in the MLS. You need to fish in the wholesale pond. Where's the wholesale pond? You're sitting in it. A large network of real estate investors, horse trading, wholesaling back and forth. Welcome to the wholesale network. All right, one more strategy. This is a bit more complicated, and in my opinion, a bit more interesting. It's called buying a property subject to the mortgage. This is buying real estate even with no money and even with no credit. I am a nationally recognized expert at teaching this strategy. It is possible I am the national expert. I am certainly a national expert who's literally taught tens of thousands of people how to actually do this. How does this work? How does real estate work? Let me explain. When somebody buys real estate, how does that work? They go to a title company and they sign a stack of documents. Most of the documents are disclaimers and disclosures, but there's 2 documents that get signed at the closing that actually make the transaction happen. The 2 documents that make things happen are the deed and the note. The deed and the note. Notice these are 2 separate instruments, a deed and a note. Whosever name goes on the deed, that's who owns the house. Whosever name goes on the note, that's who's responsible for the mortgage. So there's a deed and there's a note. Now normally it's the same guy on both. Guy buys a house, his name is on the deed, his name is on the note, he owns the house, he's responsible for the mortgage. That's normal. He moves into the house, it's his house. All the rights and privileges and responsibilities and all the benefits of home ownership, they all go to him. It's his house. At the end of the month, he gets a statement from the bank. Says you owe us $2,000 for your mortgage payment. He writes the bank a check for $2,000. Bank gets the check. They cash the check. Bank's happy. He's happy. Everybody's happy. That's how things work. And then the guy goes on to get married. And, well, you know, Texas is a community property state. So after the guy gets married, the wife is added to the deed. Now, there's two names on the deed, his and hers. There's two names on the deed. But his name is still the only name on the note. Just because somebody's added to the deed, that does not affect the note. And then time goes on and things don't work out and they get a divorce. And in their situation, the wife gets the house in the divorce. So now something kind of interesting has happened. Now her name is the only name left on the deed, but his name is still the only name on the note. So the question is, as long as he keeps sending the bank a check every month, or she starts sending the bank a check every month, or a tenant or a property manager, a neighbor, investor, friend, or family member, or somebody sends the bank a check every month, the question is, does the bank actually care who wrote the check? What do you think? No. There's some dude sitting at the bank getting paid $9.82 an hour to open an envelope. He's like, oh, we got a check for the right amount, came on time, and it cleared, we're good. So if you're listening to my story so far, I just told you all a story about a spouse, about a person, right? About a guy, about a woman that was able to acquire real estate, even with no money and no credit. So there it is, a way to acquire real estate with no money and no credit, right? Okay, here's the really, really good part. You can all do exactly the same thing, and you don't have to get married to do it. Because here's the deal. Here's the deal. Anybody, any of you, can go up to any homeowner that has any loan, any mortgage from any lender at any house at any time, and you can make them an offer. The offer any of you can make with any homeowner that has any loan, any mortgage from any lender at any house at any time is this. This is the offer. I will make the payments on your mortgage for you going forward. Or I will find somebody to make the payments on your mortgage for you going forward. What's the catch? The catch is you have to hand the deed, which is ownership of the property, to me. It's called buying a property subject to the existing mortgage. You can do this with any homeowner that has any loan, any mortgage from any lender in any house at any time. And the only person on the planet that has to agree to this transaction is the person whose name is on the deed, not the bank. The bank has no say in this transaction. There are federal laws that regulate this transaction. Anybody can transfer their deed to anybody they want. Anybody can pay somebody else's mortgage if they want to. So if you're listening to me closely, here's what you just heard me say. You can buy any house in Texas from any homeowner in Texas that has any loan from any lender. You can buy that person's house at any time, and you can buy that person's house even with no money and with no credit by simply offering to take over the payment on their mortgage, or even offering to find somebody to take over the payment on their mortgage in exchange for them simply handing the deed, which is ownership of the property, to you. It's called buying a property subject to the existing mortgage. And once you learn how to buy real estate with no money and with no credit, then how many houses can you buy? All of them. It is a very scalable process. Look, when somebody has financial distress, they got a house, they got a mortgage, and they're in financial distress. Is the house the problem, or is the mortgage the problem? What do you think? Owning a house is never a problem. Being responsible for a mortgage, that could be a big problem. Right? Solve the big problem by taking over the payment or finding somebody to take over the payment. Right? Solving the big problem, you ask them to transfer the deed, which is ownership of the property, to you. And that's all it is. It's simply agreeing to pay somebody's mortgage going forward in exchange for them transferring the deed, which is ownership of the property, to you. Now, when somebody hands you their deed, you now own their house. You can do whatever you want with it. You can renovate it and retail sell it to somebody else. You can wrap it, you can assign it, you can keep it as a rental property, you can keep it as your own homestead if you'd like. I've helped many of my friends here in Texas buy their very own homestead with this little or no money, no credit needed strategy. Okay, well, how much money can you make? Well, there's a lot of ways to make a lot of money once you learn how to buy houses with no money and no credit. Small flip, at least 10 or 15,000, typically a lot more. And this is another little or no money, little or no risk strategy. Let me walk you through a story, an example of a deal. This is one of the $30 million worth of houses that my wife and I own here in Texas. Now, if we were going to go buy $30 million worth of houses traditionally, we'd have to put down 20% every time we bought a house. In other words, we'd have to be multi-millionaires just to become millionaires. Well, I wasn't a millionaire when I was sitting in these chairs 20 years ago. So then how was I able to buy $30 million worth of houses? Well, most of them, including this one, were bought using exactly this strategy. So let me tell you about this one. A woman owned this house worth $150,000. She only owed $110,000 on her mortgage. So this house has $40,000 of equity. She had the house rented out for $1,600 a month rent. The mortgage payment, including tax and insurance, is $1,100 a month. So this house is generating $500 a month of gross cash flow. Should have, could have, and it would have been a perfect rental property, except for one major problem. This woman had lost her job. She was continuing to collect the rent because she was living off of the rent, but she stopped paying the mortgage. 4 days before the first Tuesday of the month, when the bank was going to foreclose on her, I knocked on her door. Can I help you? I am here to help you. Well, what can you do? There's no time. They're going to foreclose on me. How can you help? They're going to foreclose on me. What can you do? There's no time. How can you help? Here's what I can do. I can stop the foreclosure. I can reinstate your loan. I can catch up your mortgage payments. I can make your mortgage payments for you going forward. I can even repair all your credit. Well, that's amazing. That's amazing. What's the catch? You simply have to hand the deed, which is ownership of the property, to me. And she said, deal. Why in the world did she say deal? Because in 4 days, she's losing the house. That was a done deal. But she wasn't just going to lose the house. In addition to losing the house, she was going to get a little bonus to go along with it. What do you call that bonus? A foreclosure. And you don't want a foreclosure. And here's what I told her next. You may think a foreclosure is the end of your problem. It's not. It's the beginning of a 10-year nightmare that starts with the sheriff and his deputies dragging you and your family and all of your possessions to the curb in front of your friends and neighbors. It's 10 years of dealing with the IRS potentially garnishing your wages to collect on a 1099 that could be issued against you for up to the full value of your loan. It's 10 years of dealing with the lender potentially filing a lawsuit against you for up to the full value of the home. It's 10 years of dealing with creditors calling you, hounding you day and night to collect on the judgment from the lawsuit. It's 10 years of not being able to buy another home, not being able to buy a car, not being able to get a credit card, not being able to open certain bank accounts or even rent certain apartments or even get certain jobs. In other words, it's a bullet to the head. And nobody wants all that. And I stopped all of that from happening to her, and she was thrilled. She even said thank you. And the bank was thrilled because they didn't want the house back. They just wanted their money, so I gave them their money. And the tenants were thrilled because they didn't want to get kicked out of the house. They wanted to keep renting the house. So I let them keep renting it for me. But mostly I was thrilled because for $4,500, which is what it cost me to reinstate that loan, I now own this beautiful $150,000 house. It came with a loan, came with $40,000 of equity, all mine, right? Yeah, the woman said thank you. The tenants got to stay there, right? It's awesome. It's awesome. Right? And as awesome as that is, you know, I'll bet you don't know why I love this so much. I bet you don't know why I love this so much. Some of you are probably looking at this, and you're like, oh, you're making $500 a month. Yeah, that's not it. That's not it. $500 is not going to affect my life or my lifestyle at all. What's amazing about this is by doing this over and over and over again, my wife and I were able to accumulate a portfolio that's now worth $30 million. In fact, just over the last 3 years, that portfolio went up in value by more than 30%. In other words, just over the last 3 years, my wife and I became more than $10 million richer from having done this thing over and over again. This thing that requires little or no money and no credit. That's what I love about this. This is the strategy that allows anybody, regardless of money or credit, to become multi-millionaires. Because I don't care how much money you don't have enough to buy $30 million worth of houses. You don't have enough money, you don't have enough credit. Nobody does. It doesn't scale. You know, you get 10 loans, it starts to get impossible to get more loans. It just doesn't scale. This scales. This scales to an infinite degree. And when I realized the wealth potential of this strategy, I actually made one additional tweak to this strategy. I no longer buy these houses in my name. In fact, I no longer buy these houses in my company's name. Now when I buy these houses, I prefer to buy them in my IRA. How many of you were aware that you could do this transaction with your IRA? Okay, well, for the rest of you, you know you can actually do this transaction with your IRA. In fact, come to the workshop, and one of our vendors, Directed Trust IRA, will set it up for you so you can do this with your IRA. So what happens when my IRA does this transaction? My IRA issues the $4,500 reinstatement fee to the bank, and the deed transfers to the IRA. Every month, the property manager deposits $1,600 of rent into the IRA, right? And then every month, the IRA automatically issues the bank a check for $1,100, and $500 transfers back into the IRA. But that's not the cool part. What's the cool part? Over the next 25 years, this property will double in value, and it'll double again. And even at very conservative appreciation rates, it'll almost double a third time. Something interesting happens to the loan on this property over the next 25 years. What happens to the loan? Gets paid off by the tenants. Thank you very much, tenants. In other words, every time my IRA does this deal, my IRA ultimately ends up owning an asset worth about $1 million that by then I own free and clear. And because my IRA is also a Roth IRA, when I sell this asset in retirement, 100% of the proceeds are tax-free. Did you all just see what I did? I just showed you how to turn a $4,500 IRA into $1 million tax-free doing one deal one time, helping a woman out of a horrible situation, helping a tenant stay in a property they wanted to stay in, helping a bank not take a property back they didn't want back, all that just doing it once. The average 65-year-old has a net worth of $62,000. It's pathetic. If you just did this one deal one time in your life, you'd be 25 times richer than the average retired person, just doing this once. But I got to tell you, I've never seen somebody do this deal once. 95% of the people will never do this deal. And 100% of the people that do it once, then what do? Then they do it again. And then what do? And then they do it again. And then they do it again. And 20 years later, they're standing behind a podium at a Hilton talking about all the times they did it. So one last time, how many of you would like me to walk you step by step through how to do this deal? Who wants to see step by step how to do this deal? All right. We're all out of time. I'm sorry. We're almost at it. I need to wrap up. I'm going over time. I love this. So I'm gonna walk you through it step by step how to do this deal. I'm going to show you how to find it, how to get it under contract, which contract to use, which attorney and title company to close it at. I'm going to walk through all the operational steps to do this deal. I'm going to walk you through that step by step. However, that's going to take about 3 days, so we're going to have to finish at the workshop. Sorry, guys. And that's just one of the 12 strategies, not even my favorite one. My favorite one is how to flip houses for free, how to offer free house remodels. 65 market method. I just taught your first close. That was literally called the atomic bomb close. Remember I told you I said magic words? Those were literally the magic words. Now think about this. I literally took one of those lists, I called a woman on the list, and I read those magic words, and she handed me that house and said thank you. Now it doesn't work like that every time. It's a numbers game. So you call 20 or 30 of them, and you keep going over and over again, and some of them say yes. But to me, that's like magic. You get a list, you call, you read that script, some of them say yes, and they hand you the house, and you got yourself a rental property. Remember I said I was going to teach you how to get a 3% mortgage with no credit, no loan, no money down? That was it. Find somebody that got one of those 3% mortgages that can't afford to pay their mortgage anymore, and take over their mortgage payment for them. And you can do this with any 3% mortgage. And the new 3% mortgage is way better than the old 3% mortgage. The old 3% mortgage required you to fill out a loan, have good credit, and put money down. The new 3% mortgage requires you to just take over somebody else's 3% mortgage with no money down. So come to the workshop. Again, pick the city and date that works best for you. A few logistics real quickly. Join the REIA. It's only $100. It's a great cause, and it has huge benefits. You get to be a VIP, you get special training, lunch sessions, etc. You get access to all the members of this network. That's how we all communicate every minute of every day. Pick the date and location that works best for you. This is the same workshop in 3 cities, Austin, Dallas, Houston. Come live. How many of you are going to be coming live to the workshop? Raise your hand if you're going to be coming live to the workshop. Okay, who's going to be coming online to the workshop? Okay, oh, almost everybody's live. Who's not coming to the workshop? Okay, some of you just got here, so you probably don't even know what it is. But yeah, so look forward to seeing you guys. I recommend that you do come live for you guys online. If you register right now, it's free. Join the REIA. It's only $100. If you have $100, you should definitely do it because it's totally worth it. And you also get this really cool poster when you join the REIA as well. A few quick logistics to go along with all of that. Oh, some people asked, can I get copies of your presentation? We post them on our social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Join us at Texas REIAs. Some logistics for the workshop. I'm teaching the whole thing, dusk to dawn. Okay, 24 hours over 3 days. We go late Friday, late Saturday, early Sunday. I'm going to start talking at 8:45 a.m. Get there at 8:30, get a good seat. Bring a notepad. Okay, you're going to fill out the entire notepad with notes. We will have tables. We won't be packed in like sardines like we are here. We will have tables, so you have a table to work on, but bring a notepad, okay? We're going to go late Friday, late Saturday. How late? I don't know. Probably like 7:30, I'm going to guess. And then we'll end early on Sunday. And that is basically the logistics for that. Some other quick questions. How much experience do I need? You don't need any experience. Can I bring my significant other? Highly recommend you drag them by force. You do get to bring somebody for free, so if you're a VIP, and you all should be a VIP because you should join the REIA, you get to bring your guest as a VIP. How do I know this is the real deal? Go look at thousands and thousands of reviews online. If you don't believe me, go check out what thousands of other Texans have said about this. We scan and post every review we get on the internet for the entire world to see. Why would we do that? Go look for yourself. And what you're going to see is thousands and thousands of handwritten reviews, and they all say the same thing. 99 out of 100 say, oh my God, this was literally a life-changing experience. Where do I get my tickets? You're going to get handed the tickets on the way out of here. We're going to take your paper. Please make sure it's filled out legibly. We're going to give you the receipt, and we're going to hand you a little packet with tickets in it. And then if I have even more questions, well, you should have more questions. Become a VIP and join the online network. That's how you can interact with me and all of the other members of this REIA.